The ground shook again as another Vorthak plasma cannon fired from orbit. Daeho Kim pressed his back against the crystal wall and felt the vibrations run through his bones. Around him, the beautiful blue-skinned Avalians moved with quiet grace even as their world burned above them. Commander Kim, the Eastern Shield generator is failing, Mi-young Park called out from across the underground medical center. Her voice was steady, but Daeho could hear the worry underneath. She knelt beside a wounded Avalian child, her hands glowing with the soft healing light from a human medical scanner. The Avalian elder Taimin Lee approached Daeho with slow, measured steps. His large silver eyes held a sadness that seemed deeper than the ocean. Your people should not have stayed, Commander. The Vorthaks will show no mercy to humans who stand with us. Daeho looked through the crystal window at the burning city above. The Avalian capital had once been a wonder to behold. Tall spires of living crystal reached toward the sky, each one singing with soft harmonic tones that created music from the wind. Now half of those spires lay in ruins, their songs silenced forever. We don't abandon our friends, Daeho said simply. He had said the same thing 3 days ago when his ship, the Soul's Promise, could have easily escaped the system. His crew of 12 humans had voted unanimously to stay and help evacuate civilians. Another explosion rocked the underground shelter. Dust fell from the ceiling, and several Avalian children pressed closer to their parents. The adults remained calm, but their skin had turned a deeper shade of blue, a sign of fear among their species. Sujin Choi rushed over to Daeho, her communication equipment beeping frantically. Commander, I'm picking up movement in the Vorthak fleet. Looks like they're positioning their heavy cruisers for the final bombardment. Daeho closed his eyes for a moment. The Vorthak Empire had arrived 6 days ago with over 200 warships. Their message had been simple. Surrender the planet's trilithium mines or face complete destruction. The Avalians, being a peaceful people, had no real military to speak of. Their few defensive ships had been destroyed in the first hour of fighting. The trilithium deposits on this world were incredibly rare. The crystals could power starship engines for decades and were worth more than most planets' entire economies. But the Avalians considered them sacred, believing the crystals held the memories of their ancestors. How long until they begin the final attack? Daeho asked. Sujin checked her readings. 6 hours, maybe less. They're charging their planet-killer weapons now. Taimin Lee placed a gentle hand on Daeho's shoulder. Commander, your ship should leave while it still can. Take as many of our people as possible. We understand that you cannot save us all. No, Daeho said firmly. We're not leaving anyone behind. Mi-young Park finished treating the wounded child and walked over to join them. Her dark hair was tied back in a practical ponytail, and her medical uniform was stained with the blue blood of the Avalians she had been treating for days. Commander, I've been studying their physiology. The Avalians have something unique. Their crystal cities aren't just buildings. They're connected to their nervous system somehow. When the cities are destroyed, it causes them physical pain. That explains why they won't just abandon this place. Daeho realized. It would be like asking humans to cut off their own arms. Through the communication system, they heard the voice of General Vorthak Prime, the commander of the attacking fleet. His words were translated into Avalian and then into human languages by their computers. People of this world, the general's harsh voice echoed through the tunnels. You have 4 hours to surrender your trilithium deposits and submit to Vorthak rule. Any resistance will result in the complete sterilization of your planet. We have done this to 17 other worlds. Do not think your human friends can save you. The transmission ended, leaving only silence. Several Avalian children began to cry softly, a sound like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. Their parents comforted them with soft humming sounds that seemed to resonate through the crystal walls. Haewon Jung, a young Avalian engineer, approached their group. She had been working with Boram Song, one of Daeho's technical specialists, to repair their damaged communication array. Commander Kim, we might have found a way to boost our signal strength. If we can salvage parts from the crashed Vorthak scout ship, we might be able to punch through their jamming field. How long would that take? Daeho asked. 3 hours, maybe 4, Boram Song answered. He was a thin man with quick hands and an even quicker mind. But Commander, even if we get a message out, the nearest human fleet is weeks away. Then we try anyway, Daeho said. Sujin helped them with whatever they need. As the teams worked frantically to repair their communications, Daeho found himself walking through the underground shelters. Everywhere he looked, he saw families holding each other close. The Avalians faced their possible extinction with a dignity that amazed him. He stopped beside an elderly Avalian who was teaching a group of children traditional songs. The old being looked up at Daeho with eyes that held no fear, only acceptance. "Your people are brave," the elder said in careful human language. "You stay with us even when staying means death." "Your people are brave too," Daeho replied. "You face the end with such grace." "We have prepared for this day for many generations," the elder explained. "We knew that someday beings would come who wanted to take what is ours. We decided long ago that we would rather die free than live as slaves." Above them, another explosion shook the shelter. The lights flickered, and somewhere in the distance they could hear the sound of crystal structures collapsing. Each fallen spire sent a ripple of shared pain through every Avalian in the shelter. Daeho returned to the command area where his crew was working alongside their Avalian friends. The Soul's Promise was a small diplomatic vessel, armed with only basic defensive weapons. Against the Vorthak fleet it would last maybe 10 minutes in open combat. But as he looked at his crew and their Avalian allies working together, Daeho felt something that surprised him. It wasn't hope exactly, the situation was still hopeless. It was something else. Pride maybe. Pride that when the end came, they would face it together. The countdown to destruction continued, but in the crystal caverns beneath the dying city, humans and Avalians refused to give up. Sujin Choi wiped sweat from her forehead as she connected the last cable to the makeshift communication array. Around her, sparks flew from damaged Vorthak technology that Boram Song was carefully rewiring. The crashed scout ship they had salvaged parts from still smoked in the distance, its alien metal twisted and blackened. "Is this going to work?" Haewon Young asked in her soft, musical voice. The young Avalian engineer held a crystal resonator in her delicate hands, its surface glowing with pale blue light. "It has to work," Boram replied, not looking up from his work. His fingers moved quickly over the alien circuits, adapting Vorthak technology to work with human and Avalian systems. "We only get one shot at this. The moment we power up, their sensors will detect us." Above ground, the Vorthak fleet continued its slow bombardment of the outer settlements. Each explosion sent tremors through the underground shelters where thousands of Avalians waited. The children had stopped crying hours ago, sensing the fear of the adults around them. Daeho Kim watched the countdown timer on his portable computer. 2 hours and 37 minutes until the Vorthaks began their final attack. The planet-killer weapons on their heavy cruisers were already charging, building up the energy needed to burn away all life on the surface. "Commander," Mi Young Park approached him quietly. She had been moving between the medical stations, treating wounded civilians and trying to keep everyone calm. "I need to tell you something. I've been studying the Avalians more closely, and I think I understand why the Vorthaks are so determined to destroy them completely." "What do you mean?" Mi Young pulled out her medical scanner, its screen showing complex readings. "The Avalians aren't just connected to their crystal cities. They're connected to each other. When one of them dies, the others feel it. When their cities are destroyed, they all share the pain. But it's more than that. They're unconsciously broadcasting their thoughts and emotions into space." Daeho frowned. "Broadcasting how?" "Through quantum entanglement with their crystal structures. The trilithium isn't just valuable as fuel. It's like a giant antenna. Every thought, every feeling, every memory the Avalians have is being transmitted across space. Other species can pick up these broadcasts if they have the right equipment. And the Vorthaks know this? I think so. They're not just destroying the Avalians for their resources, they're destroying them to silence their voices. The Avalians have been unconsciously calling for help across the galaxy for weeks." Before Daeho could respond, Sujin called out from the communication array, "Commander, we're ready to try the signal boost. But remember, we'll only have about 30 seconds before the Vorthaks jam us again." Daeho nodded. "Do it." Sujin activated the array and immediately the underground chamber filled with a loud humming sound. The Avalian crystals in the walls began to glow brighter, resonating with the boosted signal. For a moment it felt like the entire planet was singing. "Signal is strong," Sujin reported. "I'm broadcasting on all emergency frequencies. Human, Avalian, and general galactic distress channels." The seconds ticked by. 10 seconds, 20, 25. Then Sujin's equipment began sparking as Vorthak jamming systems located their position and overwhelmed their makeshift array. But just before the signal died completely, something impossible happened. A single word came through the speakers, transmitted on an ancient emergency frequency that most ships no longer monitored. Acknowledged. Everyone in the chamber fell silent. The word had been spoken in perfect human standard language with no accent or distortion. Did someone just answer us? Boram asked in disbelief. Sujin frantically worked her controls, trying to trace the source of the transmission. I can't tell where it came from. The signal appears to have originated from empty space about 12 light hours from here. That's impossible, Haywan said. There's nothing there. We've scanned that region dozens of times. Taemin Lee, who had been standing quietly in the corner, stepped forward. His silver eyes were wider than usual. Perhaps, he said slowly, someone was listening to our crystal songs. Meanwhile, on the surface, Yejin Ko was working frantically at the main observatory. The Avalian astronomer had refused to evacuate to the underground shelters, insisting that someone needed to monitor space for any signs of rescue. Her instruments were old but sensitive, capable of detecting the smallest changes in gravitational fields and quantum fluctuations. What she was seeing now made no sense. Yun-Su, she called to the human tactical advisor who had stayed with her. Look at these readings. Space itself is bending near the edge of our system. Yun-Su Nam studied the displays with a puzzled expression. He had served in the human military for 15 years and had seen many strange things, but nothing like this. It looks like something massive is causing gravitational distortions, but there's nothing there on visual scans. The quantum field fluctuations are increasing, Yejin reported. Whatever's happening, it's getting stronger. Back in the underground shelter, the survivors tried to make sense of the mysterious response to their distress call. Deho had called his senior staff together to discuss their options. Even if someone heard us, Sujin said, they can't possibly reach us in time. We have less than 2 hours before the bombardment begins. Maybe that's not the point, Mi-young suggested. Maybe someone just wanted us to know that we're not alone. Through the shelter's communication system, General Vorthak Prime's voice echoed once again. Attention, people of this world. Your time grows short. We have detected your pathetic attempt to call for help. No one is coming to save you. In 90 minutes, this planet will be cleansed of all life. Surrender now, and some of you may be allowed to serve as slaves. Several Avalian children whimpered at the harsh words, but their parents comforted them with soft humming sounds. The adults maintained their dignity even in the face of death. Min Ho-an, one of the few Avalian military pilots, approached Deho. Commander, I'm taking the last evacuation ship to rescue civilians from the northern settlements. I know it's dangerous, but I can't leave them to die alone. I'll go with you, Yun-Su volunteered. 2 pilots are better than 1. As the small rescue ship lifted off through a concealed launch tube, the remaining survivors continued their preparations. Some worked to strengthen the underground shelters. Others recorded final messages for family members who might never receive them. A few, like the elderly Avalian who had been teaching songs, continued their normal activities as if death was not approaching. Deho found himself standing before a large crystal wall that displayed a map of their solar system. The Vorthak fleet was marked in red, positioned in a perfect sphere around their planet. Their own position was a tiny blue dot, surrounded and outnumbered. But at the edge of the system, where empty space should have been, Yejin Ko had marked an area of strange readings. Whatever was happening there, it was growing stronger by the hour. Commander, Haywan approached him quietly. My people have a saying. The darkest night is just before the crystal dawn. It means that hope sometimes comes from the most unexpected places. Deho nodded, though he wasn't sure he believed it anymore. Outside, the final countdown continued. In the Vorthak fleet, massive weapons continued charging, and somewhere in the darkness of space, something unknown was stirring. The mysterious voice that had acknowledged their distress call remained silent. But somehow Deho felt that they were no longer completely alone in their final hour. Yejin Ko had not slept in 36 hours, but her large silver eyes remained focused on the observatory instruments. What she was seeing at the edge of their solar system defied everything she knew about physics. Space itself seemed to be folding, creating ripples that her sensitive equipment could barely detect. Yun-Su, come look at this, she called to the human tactical advisor. Her voice carried a note of wonder mixed with confusion. Yun-Su Nam hurried over from the communication station where he had been monitoring Vorthak fleet movements. The gravitational readings on Yejin's screen made him shake his head in disbelief. I've never seen anything like this. It's as if something enormous is trying to push through the fabric of space itself. Above them, another Vorthak plasma blast struck the city's outer ring. The crystal spires that had stood for thousands of years cracked and fell, their harmonic songs turning into discordant screams before falling silent forever. Each destroyed structure sent waves of pain through every Avalian on the planet. In the underground shelters, Tae-Min Lee knelt beside a group of children who were crying softly. Not from fear of death, but from the shared agony of their dying city. Their crystal blue skin had turned almost purple with grief. "Elder," one of the children whispered, "why do the crystals hurt so much when they break?" Tae-Min gently touched the child's forehead. "Because they carry the memories of all who came before us. When they die, a part of our history dies with them." Dae-ho Kim watched this exchange from across the chamber. The dignity of the Avalians in their final hours amazed him. They faced extinction not with panic or rage, but with a quiet sadness that somehow made their situation even more heartbreaking. "Commander," Soo-Jin Choi approached with her portable communication equipment. "I've been monitoring the Vorthak communications. They're beginning final preparations for the planet-killer bombardment. 57 minutes remaining." Mi-young Park looked up from the medical station where she was treating an injured Avalian elder. "Commander, I need to show you something. I've been studying the quantum resonance patterns from the crystal structures, and I think I understand what's happening." She led him to a small alcove where her scientific equipment was set up. The Avalians aren't just connected to their cities. Every thought, every emotion, every memory is being broadcast into space through quantum entanglement. When the Vorthaks attack, the Avalians' pain and fear is being transmitted across the galaxy. "How far can these transmissions reach?" Dae-ho asked. "Theoretically, infinite distance, instantaneous transmission. Quantum entanglement doesn't follow normal rules of space and time." Before Dae-ho could respond, Dong-hyun Ryu, the sensor operator from the Soul's Promise, came running into the shelter. His face was pale with excitement and confusion. "Commander, you need to see this. My instruments are picking up something impossible near the edge of the system. Whatever Ye-jin detected earlier is getting bigger, much bigger." They rushed to Ye-jin's observatory where the Avalian astronomer was staring at her screens in amazement. "Commander Kim, the gravitational distortions are increasing exponentially. It's as if something the size of a space station is materializing from nothing." Yoon-soo checked his tactical displays. "The Vorthaks have noticed it too. 3 of their scout ships are moving to investigate." On the main view screen, they watched as the Vorthak scouts approached the area of strange readings. For a moment, there was nothing visible except empty space and distant stars. Then the fabric of space itself seemed to ripple, like water disturbed by a stone. General Vorthak Prime's harsh voice echoed through their communication systems. "Unknown vessel, identify yourself immediately. You are trespassing in Vorthak-controlled space." There was no response. The ripples in space grew stronger. "I'm detecting massive energy signatures," Ye-jin reported. "Whatever is out there, it's using technology I've never seen before." Suddenly, Lieutenant Hyun-ae Lim, General Vorthak Prime's tactical advisor, appeared on their intercepted communication channels. Her voice was tense with worry. "General, the energy readings from that anomaly are off the charts. I recommend we maintain distance until we can determine what we're facing." "Nonsense," the general replied. "No single ship can threaten a fleet of 200 vessels. All units prepare to engage the unknown contact." But as the Vorthak fleet began to move into attack formation, something unprecedented happened. The ripples in space suddenly stabilized, and a massive shadow began to emerge from what appeared to be folded spacetime itself. The object that materialized was enormous, easily twice the size of the largest Vorthak battleship. Its hull was dark metal that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it, making it appear as a moving piece of void against the stars. "My ancestors," Tae-Min Lee whispered as he watched the impossible sight. "Something has heard our crystal songs." On the surface, Min-ho-an and Eun-soo were racing back to the capital city in their evacuation ship, loaded with survivors from the northern settlements. Through their viewports, they could see the strange vessel at the edge of the system, its dark shape barely visible against the cosmic background. "What is that thing?" Min-ho asked in amazement. "I don't know," Yoon-soo replied, "but it's not Vorthak. Their ships are all angular and brutal looking. This one is different. It's almost elegant." Back in the underground shelter, the survivors watched in stunned silence as the mysterious vessel began to move. It didn't accelerate like normal ships. It simply appeared to glide through space as if the laws of physics didn't apply to it. Bo-Ram's song. The human technical specialist was frantically trying to analyze the vessel's energy signature. "Commander, this is incredible. The quantum resonance patterns match human technology, but they're unlike anything in our databases. It's as if someone took human engineering principles and advanced them by decades." The Vorthak scout ships that had been sent to investigate suddenly changed course, retreating rapidly toward the main fleet. On the intercepted communications, they could hear panic in the alien voices. "General, the unknown vessel is massive. Our weapons scans show armor thickness beyond anything we've encountered. And there's something else. It's not showing up properly on our targeting systems." General Vorthak Prime's voice crackled with anger. "Impossible. All ships target the unknown vessel and fire at will." The Vorthak fleet opened fire with everything they had. Plasma cannons, particle beams, and quantum torpedoes lit up the darkness of space as they struck the mysterious vessel. For a moment, the dark ship was surrounded by brilliant explosions. When the light faded, the vessel was completely undamaged. Not a single mark showed on its dark hull. By the void, one of the Vorthak captains gasped over the communication channels. "What are we facing?" In the underground shelter, Daeho felt something he hadn't experienced in days. Hope. Whatever this vessel was, it was clearly not on the side of the Vorthaks. Sujin was monitoring all frequencies, trying to detect any communication from the mysterious ship. "Commander, I'm not picking up any transmissions. It's maintaining complete radio silence." "Maybe it doesn't need to communicate," Myung suggested. "If my theory is correct about the Avalian's quantum broadcasts, maybe it already knows everything it needs to know." Above them, the dark vessel continued its slow approach toward the planet. The Vorthak fleet, despite their overwhelming numbers, seemed hesitant to engage it directly after their weapons proved completely ineffective. "General," Lieutenant Hyunei Lim's voice was urgent, "I strongly recommend we withdraw. This vessel represents unknown technology that may be beyond our capability to counter." "We do not retreat," General Vorthak Prime roared. "Ready the planet-killer weapons. If we cannot destroy this vessel, we will complete our original mission and sterilize the planet. Let this unknown ship watch as we burn this world to ash." The countdown timer showed 31 minutes remaining, but now, instead of counting down to their certain death, it felt like they were counting down to something else entirely. The mysterious vessel continued its approach, a dark harbinger emerging from the void between stars, carrying with it the promise that the Avalian's crystal songs had been heard across the cosmos. The massive vessel that had emerged from folded space moved with impossible grace through the void. As it drew closer to the inner system, its true size became apparent. Nearly 2 kilometers long, its dark hull seemed to drink in the light of distant stars, making it appear as a moving shadow against the cosmic background. Donghyun Ryu stared at his sensor displays in disbelief. "Commander, I'm reading power signatures that don't make sense. This ship is generating more energy than our entire space station back home." Ye Ko worked frantically at her instruments, trying to understand what she was seeing. "The vessel is using some kind of space-folding technology for propulsion. It's not moving through space, it's making space move around it." On the Vorthak flagship, General Vorthak Prime paced angrily across his command bridge. His red eyes burned with fury as he watched the unknown vessel approach. "All units maintain firing formation. When that ship comes within range, we destroy it with concentrated fire." Lieutenant Hyunei Lim checked her tactical displays nervously. "General, our previous attacks had no effect whatsoever. Perhaps we should try to communicate with them first." "We communicate with our weapons," the general snarled. "No single ship, no matter how large, can stand against 200 Vorthak vessels." But as the dark ship continued its approach, something began to happen that made even the hardened Vorthak warriors feel uneasy. The vessel started to become more visible, as if it was slowly allowing itself to be seen. What had appeared as a simple shadow now revealed intricate details of its construction. The hull was not just dark metal. It was covered in what looked like scales or plates that shifted and moved like living skin. Along its length, rows of structures that might have been weapons or sensors extended and retracted in complex patterns. Most disturbing of all, the ship seemed to pulse with a rhythm like a massive heartbeat. Inside the UHCS Indomitable, Captain Yijun Seo stood on the bridge of humanity's most advanced warship. Around him, his crew worked with quiet efficiency at stations that would have seemed like magic to earlier generations of humans. Chief Engineer Sora Kim, report on the void drive, the captain ordered. Transition complete. Captain, Sora replied from the engineering station. All systems are operating within normal parameters. The quantum fold generators are stable and were fully materialized in normal space. Captain SEO nodded. For 5 years, the Indomitable had been humanity's secret guardian on the outer rim. Using experimental void drive technology, they could appear anywhere in the galaxy within hours, arriving like ghosts from the darkness between stars. Weapons Officer Jinwoo Park, what's our tactical situation? Jinwoo studied his displays with professional calm. 237 Vorthak vessels in standard attack formation. Mix of heavy cruisers, destroyers, and support ships. They've already charged their planet-killer weapons for surface bombardment. Any signs they've detected our true capabilities? Negative, Captain. They seem to think we're just another ship they can overwhelm with numbers. Captain Seo allowed himself a small smile. The Vorthaks were about to learn why humans had earned their reputation as the galaxy's most unpredictable warriors. Lieutenant Commander Nayoung Shin, prepare the gravitational manipulation systems. Flight Commander Seung Hwan. Oh, launch all fighter squadrons but keep them in stealth mode. Aye. Captain, both officers responded. On the planet below, the survivors watched in fascination as the dark vessel approached. Its very presence seemed to change the nature of the battle above them. The Vorthak fleet, which had been confidently preparing for planetary bombardment, now moved with visible uncertainty. Commander Kim, Sujin called out, I'm detecting massive power buildups from both fleets. I think they're about to engage. Daeho studied the tactical display that Yoon-soo had set up. 1 ship against 200. Even if it's advanced, the odds are impossible. Taemin Lee approached them, his silver eyes reflecting the light from the tactical screens. Commander, my people have legends about dark ships that sail between the stars. They are said to appear when the crystal songs call out in desperate need. Those are just stories, Haiwan Jung said softly, though her voice carried a note of hope. Perhaps, Taemin replied, but sometimes stories become real when people need them most. The moment of confrontation arrived suddenly. General Vorthak Prime, tired of waiting, gave the order that would change everything. All ships open fire. Destroy that vessel now! The Vorthak fleet unleashed a devastating barrage. Hundreds of plasma cannons fired simultaneously, creating a storm of energy that lit up the darkness of space. Particle beams lanced out like spears of light, and quantum torpedoes streaked toward their target in glowing trails. The attack struck the dark vessel from all sides, creating explosions that could be seen from the planet's surface. For several seconds, the mysterious ship disappeared completely in a ball of brilliant fire and energy. When the light faded, the Indomitable hung in space completely undamaged. Not even a scorch mark showed on its dark hull. Captain Yi Jun Seo's voice suddenly echoed across all communication frequencies, calm and measured, but carrying an undertone of barely controlled fury. This is Captain Yi Jun Seo of the United Human Confederation ship Indomitable. You have exactly 60 seconds to cease hostilities and withdraw from this system. The response from General Vorthak Prime was immediate and predictable. Human vessel, you are outnumbered 200 to 1. Surrender now and we may allow your crew to live as slaves. Captain Seo's reply was equally swift. Your 60 seconds just became 30. Jinwoo, you may begin the demonstration. What happened next would be talked about in military academies across the galaxy for generations to come. The Indomitable didn't simply fight. It orchestrated a symphony of destruction that turned the Vorthak's own strength against them. Nayoung Shin activated the gravitational manipulation systems, creating invisible fields that bent space around the human ship. Suddenly, the Vorthak targeting computers couldn't lock onto their target properly. Their weapons fired at where the ship appeared to be, only to have their shots pass harmlessly through empty space. At the same time, the Indomitable's fighters launched from hidden bays along its hull. Unlike the bulky Vorthak fighters, these craft were sleek and fast, piloted by humans whose reflexes had been enhanced through genetic modification and cybernetic implants. They moved through the enemy formation like dancers, their weapons striking with surgical precision. But the real demonstration of human ingenuity came when the Indomitable began using micro-wormholes to redirect the Vorthak's own weapons. Plasma blasts fired at the human ship suddenly emerged from tiny portals behind Vorthak vessels, striking them in their rear armor where their shields were weakest. Impossible. General Vorthak Prime roared as he watched his own weapons destroy his own ships. No species has mastered wormhole technology to that degree. General, Lieutenant Yune Lim called out in panic. We're losing ships rapidly. Their targeting systems are somehow using our own weapon signatures against us. In the space of 10 minutes, the Indomitable had destroyed or disabled 30 Vorthak vessels without taking a single hit. The remaining ships began to pull back, their formations breaking apart in confusion and fear. On the planet below, the survivors watched in amazement as the tide of battle shifted completely. The dark ship that had emerged from nothingness was systematically dismantling one of the galaxy's most feared military forces. By the ancestors, Ye Jin-ko whispered. They're not just fighting. They're teaching the Vorthaks that their tactics are useless against superior technology. Myung Park realized something important. Commander, this isn't just about saving us. That ship is sending a message to every species in the galaxy about what happens when humanity's friends are threatened. As the Vorthak fleet continued to retreat in disorder, Captain Seo opened communications again. General Vorthak Prime, you now have a choice. You can withdraw your remaining ships and never return to this system, or I can continue this demonstration until your fleet no longer exists. The general's response was filled with rage and desperation. If we cannot have this world, then no one will. All ships target the planet with the planet killer weapons. Fire everything! The countdown to bombardment resumed, but now it carried a different meaning. The Vorthaks were about to learn that threatening innocent civilians was the one thing guaranteed to unleash the full fury of human military technology. The Vorthak heavy cruisers turned their massive planet-killer weapons toward the blue-green world below. Each weapon could burn away all life from a continent. Together, they carried enough firepower to turn the entire planet into a lifeless rock. General Vorthak Prime stood on his command bridge, his red eyes blazing with fury. If he could not claim this world and its precious trilithium deposits, he would ensure that no one else could either. All units target the population centers. Show these humans what happens when they interfere with the Vorthak Empire. Lieutenant Hyune Lim gripped her control station tightly. General, targeting civilians will bring the full attention of every civilized species in the galaxy. Are you certain this is wise? Wisdom is for the weak, the general snarled. Fear is the only currency that matters. Today we teach the galaxy to fear us. On the planet below, Dae-ho Kim watched the tactical display as the Vorthak weapons began their final charging sequence. The energy readings climbed steadily toward the levels needed for planetary bombardment. How long do we have? He asked Yoon-soo Nam. 4 minutes until they can fire, the tactical advisor replied. But Commander, look at this. The human ship is moving to intercept. Through the observatory windows, they could see the dark bulk of the Indomitable positioning itself between the Vorthak fleet and their planet. The massive human warship seemed small against the array of weapons pointed at their world. But its very presence sent a clear message. Captain Yijun Seo's voice echoed across all communication frequencies, and this time there was no diplomacy in his tone. General Vorthak Prime, you have made a critical error. Targeting civilian populations is an act that humanity does not tolerate. Stand down immediately. One ship cannot protect an entire planet, the general laughed. Watch as we burn your friends to ash. That was when Captain Seo revealed the true extent of human preparation. Fleet Admiral Wu Jin-hong, please respond. A new voice appeared on the communication channels, speaking with calm authority. This is Admiral Hong aboard the UHCS Retribution. Captain Seo, you are authorized to engage with extreme prejudice. Suddenly, space around the Vorthak fleet began to ripple as more human ships materialized from folded space. The Retribution appeared first, followed by the Defiant, the Unstoppable, and the Vengeance. Each vessel was as large and advanced as the Indomitable, their dark hulls emerging from the void like predators stalking their prey. Impossible, General Vorthak Prime whispered. How many ships do the humans have? Admiral Hong's voice carried across space with deadly calm. General, you are facing the United Human Confederation's Rapid Response Fleet. We have been monitoring Vorthak expansion for months, waiting for you to make exactly this mistake. On the planet below, the survivors stared in amazement as the impossible became real. Not one but 5 massive human warships now faced the Vorthak fleet. The tactical display showed that despite being outnumbered 40-1, the human ships moved with perfect coordination. It's not just about saving us. Mi Young Park realized. This was planned. They've been waiting for the Vorthax to attack innocent civilians. Tame and Lee watched the formation of human ships with wonder. The crystal songs have been heard far beyond our world. Someone was listening all along. The battle that followed would be studied in military academies for centuries. The human ships didn't just fight. They demonstrated technologies that seemed almost magical to other species. Captain Seo led the Indomitable in a tactical display that turned the Vorthax numerical advantage into a weakness. A young Shin coordinated gravitational manipulation systems across all 5 human ships. Suddenly, Vorthak vessels found themselves pulled out of formation by invisible forces. Their carefully planned attack patterns collapsed into chaos as ships crashed into each other or spun helplessly through space. Jinwoo Park's weapon systems targeted not just enemy ships, but the quantum torpedoes and plasma blasts still traveling toward the planet. Human point defense systems intercepted every shot with impossible accuracy, creating a protective barrier of light and energy around their world. Flight Commander Seung-hwan Oh led squadrons of human fighters that moved like silver darts through the enemy formation. The pilots pushed their ships to acceleration levels that would have killed any other species, their enhanced reflexes and cybernetic implants allowing them to perform maneuvers that defied physics. But the most impressive display came from Chief Engineer Sora. Kim and her counterparts on the other human ships. Working together, they created a series of quantum tunnels that redirected the Vorthax planet-killer weapons back at their own fleet. The energy beams meant to destroy the planet instead carved through Vorthak heavy cruisers like knives through paper. General, Lieutenant Hyune Lim called out in panic. We've lost 60% of our fleet in 12 minutes. Their technology is beyond anything we've encountered. I recommend immediate withdrawal. General Vorthak Prime stared at his tactical displays in disbelief. His magnificent fleet was being systematically destroyed by opponents who seemed to treat the laws of physics as mere suggestions. How is this possible? No species should have such advanced technology. Captain Seo's voice answered him as if he had heard the question. General, you made 2 mistakes today. First, you assumed that because humanity is young, we are weak. Second, you threatened innocent lives. We take that very personally. On the planet below, Minho An and Yunsu had landed their evacuation ship and were helping to bring more survivors to the underground shelters. Through the crystal windows, they could see the battle raging above, marked by brilliant flashes of light and the occasional burning wreck of a Vorthak ship falling toward the atmosphere. The humans aren't just winning, Minho observed in amazement. They're making it look easy. This is what happens, Yunsu replied, when you pick a fight with a species that has spent centuries perfecting the art of war. Back in the underground shelter, Sujin Choi was monitoring communications from across the galaxy. Commander, I'm picking up transmissions from dozens of other star systems. Human fleets are engaging Vorthak forces everywhere. This isn't just one battle. It's a coordinated counterattack. Admiral Hong's voice confirmed their observations. General Vorthak Prime, your empire's expansion ends today. Human fleets are currently liberating 17 systems that you have conquered. Your reign of terror is over. The Vorthak general made one final, desperate decision. Rather than face complete defeat, he ordered his remaining ships to ram the human vessels. If we must die, we die with honor. All ships ramming speed. The Vorthak vessels accelerated toward the human fleet, but Captain Seo had anticipated this tactic. Engineering, prepare for protective field deployment. Sora, can you extend our shields to cover the planet? Aye, Captain, Sora Kim replied, routing all power through the quantum core. This is going to be spectacular. What happened next would become the stuff of legend. The Indomitable's experimental quantum core, working in conjunction with the other human ships, created an energy field that encompassed the entire planet. The field was visible from space as a brilliant aurora that danced around the world in streams of blue and gold light. When the Vorthak ships struck the protective field, they simply dissolved, their atomic structure unable to maintain coherence against the quantum forces arrayed against them. General Vorthak Prime's flagship was the last to be destroyed, its hull breaking apart like sand in the wind. As the light of the protective field faded, silence fell over the system. Of the massive Vorthak fleet that had threatened to destroy all life on the planet, nothing remained but debris and fading energy signatures. Captain Seo's voice broke the silence. This is the UHCS Indomitable to all survivors on the planet below. The threat has been eliminated. You are safe. In the underground shelters, the sound of crystal chimes began to ring as the Avalians sang songs of joy and gratitude. Their world had been saved, and the dark ships that had emerged from the void had proven that sometimes help could come from the most unexpected places in the galaxy.